You're listening to the Homeownership podcast by Momentum Realty, real estate talk for buying, selling, and owning property.
Hey guys, Sean Patrick Maloney here, broker owner of Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. Welcome to episode 26, a timeline for selling a home. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. I want to talk to you about the timeline for selling your home. The most important thing that I'm going to tell you right up front is you should always be prepared to sell your home, meaning live in it like you care about the home and it'll make your home worth more money in the long run. Far too often do I meet with people and they're way behind on projects and then they're going to spend a whole bunch of money, do a whole bunch of upgrades, change the place, only to get it ready to sell to somebody else when they could have lived with those improvements themselves, which is really kind of a strange thing. Putting in wood floors the day before you sell, you spent the money on it anyhow, and now you're about to give them away. But let's talk about the whole entire process and how to make it happen with the most money possible, easiest possible, as well as most convenient for you, so that way you and your family or whoever else lives in the home can enjoy the home the entire time. So the number one thing you want to do is make a game plan. Making a game plan is all about just planning the process of how you're going to make it happen. Typically, making a game plan happens somewhere in the lines of 2 to 3 months out, sometimes a little bit further if you know it's coming. A lot of times if you have a job transfer, other things like that, you may have a lot of notice. You may even have a year's notice, which the more notice, the better. But again, you don't want to get carried away, and don't be concerned with, I can't just sell my home tomorrow because I don't have a game plan. This is just more when you have the available time, you can make the plan. First thing in the game plan that I would suggest is to find an agent that you trust and like. Over here at Momentum Realty, we often work with people for months before, and sometimes people will say the question, geez, I don't want to waste your time. You're not wasting my time. Part of our job is to help you understand the process, get ready to sell the home, and then sell the home. And when we are involved early, a lot of times we can save you money as far as do that repair, don't do that repair, and we can plan best of how we're going to hit the market, marketing-wise, timeline-wise, how, when, where, why. That whole entire group of questions can be answered in a form that makes sure that you are getting the most money possible. So once you find the agent, you've identified the agent, the next thing you want to do is talk with them about the repairs and improvements. This is a place where a lot of times people will do repairs or improvements without speaking with an agent. And then the unfortunate part is they'll spend $1 on something only to get 70 cents back. Or they won't spend $1 somewhere only to take a beating when it comes to the home inspection or it comes to the availability of clients for the home because they didn't make choices that were very neutral. So it's very important to talk with an agent that knows what they're talking about, knows the colors that are trending, knows the styles that are trending, knows what people are looking for. And the reason most agents know this is they're out daily shopping with people. When you're shopping with people, you get to listen to a lot of the, geez, I like this, or I don't like this, or I wish they did that differently, or I'd really like to see these features. So the repair and improvement list, this is somewhere in, again, the 1 to 2 months out range. That way there you have time. Remember, in the world of hiring contractors, you're not going to call somebody today and have them show up tomorrow. And if you do, you either got lucky or they're no good at their job. Most of the time, anybody who can show up tomorrow usually aren't the best at their job. I know a lot of flooring companies can do it, so they're okay on the next day install. I get it, those do exist. But again, if you're going into nice wood floors or any of the woodworkers or any of the different people like painters and things, to think about the fact that they can show up tomorrow means that they have no other work booked. Like the average painter might spend as much as a week painting the interior of a home. So how can he show up tomorrow? It means he literally has no homes to paint. So just think about that and make sure you leave plenty of time for repairs and improvements. And once you've determined the repairs and improvements you want to do, make sure you get multiple bids. Make sure you go out, get all those different bids. And also, again, that's why the timeline comes in, because it's going to take a little bit of time to get those bids in, read them over, schedule them, and get the work done. The next step in the process, which usually is done no more than a month to 2 months out. And the reason I say no more than a month to 2 months out is because when you're doing the market pricing, it's really important for it to be close to the time where you're actually going to sell the home. In a rising market, you may underprice the home by doing it too early. In a falling market, you may miss the market by pricing it too early. So usually somewhere in the 2 weeks to 2 months out is a great time to have market pricing done. And when you're doing the market pricing, I know a lot of people like to shop around to a bunch of agents, and I'm not saying you shouldn't shop around to a bunch of agents, but the thing that you want to remember on market prices, we're not buying your home. This isn't an offer. I'm not saying your house is worth $350 and I'm going to give it to you. Far too often do I hear about people making a decision based on who got them the highest market price. When you have that situation, take a look at the comps. The comps never lie. Take a look at what the agent is showing you, and then don't be afraid to put your agent on press. Say to them, everyone else has come in at $340 and you're in at $370. Can you tell me what you see different? And don't be afraid to share the information from other agents with other agents and say, hey, I'm looking at this report here and the two of these align and you're way higher. It's a terrible decision to just chase after the top price in that type of fashion, like where just one agent put a higher price on the thing. Sometimes the people don't understand, but they call it buying a listing in the industry. It's where you tell somebody the price you think they want to hear, you get in there, you work with them, and then 30 to 60 days out, you hit them with, I think we need a price break. I think the market agrees that the price is too high. They never blame themselves. They just tell you that they think the market has indicated that the price is too high. So they're just doing it to get you listing. And the sad part is it can cost you a lot of days and cost you a lot of price. As you price a house correctly, you'll end up scaling up because of multiple bids. You price a house incorrectly, you'll scale down and end up in what they call the waterfall effect, where people think there's something wrong with the home as soon as you start taking price breaks, and then no one offers full price. Worse yet, they offer less than full price, and you hardly ever end up in bidding situations. The only time you'll ever see where you get into a bidding situation in a positive is where you end up putting it through a price break that's so drastic that it brings out people. And when you do make price breaks, don't be that fool that makes $1,000 price break. It doesn't change anything. If people aren't writing offers on your home, you need to make a large price break. So then the next step in the process and timeline of what you're doing is, where are you going? This is an important one to think about from the beginning all the way through the end. Are you going to be a renter? Or are you going to be a buyer? Do you need to sell your home to be a buyer? Or do you need to sell your home to be a renter? Do you need to rent a home between selling your home until you're buying a home? This is times where seasonal rentals may come in. And again, this is where you're scheduling your timeline. So you may want to schedule your timeline to run congruent with what your area has for seasonal rentals. Here in Massachusetts, we have a lot of seasonal rentals on the water or down by lakes. So this timeline we might want to schedule so that we align with that time where people are moving out, which is September through June. A lot of times you can get into a winter rental and say to the person, I'm selling a home and I want a month-by-month lease, and that way there, you don't have to buy and sell at the same time. You can sell, rent, and then buy, which that makes the most sense. And sometimes it'll give you some time to sit in between the two and stay in the town that you want to stay in and have your kids stay in the school system that you want, or may just give you a place where you can temporarily live. Usually they're furnished. You don't have to take your possessions out, and you can store them for the time being. But again, during planning the timeline, the where are you going one has to be consistent through the entire process, and it's really important to think about the where are you going at the beginning. So if you're out there making a game plan 2 months out, you might want to think about it from the 2-month out mark. Where are we headed next, and how are we going to have it happen? Because far too often do people make an offer and then the person goes, oh my God, it's really happening. Like, we really sold the house. Now we have to figure out where we're going. And then they're trying to figure out, is it a home equity line of credit? Is it we wait till this house closes? Is it we shop right away? We try to find something, close same day. So that's why during the timeline process, you really want to prepare early. After you have all this ready, the next stage is you've chosen your repairs, improvement, you've chosen your age, and you've made a game plan, you have a price, you know where you're going. You want to prepare the home. Usually preparing the home timeline-wise happens between a month and 2 months ahead of time. I know they all seem to be falling in the month to 2 months timeline, but again, these are long explained out steps that quite a few of them you may be able to take care of in the same meetings and within the same week. They actually go pretty quick. I'm just breaking them down so you have a better understanding. But preparing the home goes through everything from having those repairs and improvements done to consolidating your items within the house to doing that painting and fixing up that you can handle yourself. Preparing the home is a massively important step in the whole entire process, and in the timeline, it's going to take the most time out of everything. Preparing the home correctly is going to ensure that you get the most money possible for your home. Often people schedule when they're going to sell a home, and then the timeline will run down, and then they fail to prepare the home, And as they always say, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. You got to be really careful about having the photographer come in to take pictures of your home when the home is looking like a mess or not looking like it should for its best presentation in order to get buyers in. You do have to remember, no matter how much your mother or anyone else told you not to judge a book by a cover, everybody judges a book by a cover when they're looking at homes. Unfortunately, far too often people are looking at homes online, whether it be the video or the photos, and they don't end up showing up because of those. So make sure in this step, this timeline process, make sure that you prepare the home and you give yourself ample time. And that's why I'm saying anywhere from a month to 2 months out. Some of the more major homes, they might need as much as 6 months to a year on this. The other line of it is if you live a really almost like a staged life, you might not need much time at all. I've met some simple people who have barely anything that it looks like a magazine cover every time you visit their home. They're prepared every day. The preparation of their home is more about just making sure that the home is prepared for guests, making sure that the jewelry is away, making sure that the valuables are hidden, making sure that there's no pills in the cabinets, making sure that everything is prepared to have a visitor in the home. After that, in the timeline, the next step is to make sure you get ready to market the home. Marketing the home timeline-wise, here at my company, we typically do between a week and 2 weeks before the home actually hits the market. The reason being is we can get that house out to a lot of people, and everybody loves the word exclusivity or coming soon or any of these other phrases that we use in real estate. It makes them feel like they're the only one. It makes them feel like they have something that they can't touch anywhere else. And when it comes to the word exclusivity, there is nothing more attractive to people looking for a home, especially in a busy market, than an exclusive listing. They want to get in there ahead of other people so that they can put in a bid early and they can get that home. It's a really good way to excite the home. But timeline process-wise, let's say at least 2 weeks ahead. And if you're going to try to market 2 weeks ahead, that means you might even need as many as 3 weeks because you want to get the photographer and the videographer in early, because timeline-wise, a lot of those typically from the day they take the photo to the day they get it back to you is anywhere from 1 to 5 days. And if you're doing video, it's anywhere from 2 to 5 days, maybe as much as a week, depending on how busy the marketplace is. And then if you're ordering any signs, that could be as many as a week to 2 weeks out. Lots of us have signs on hand as far as the normal signs, but if your home is unique and needs a waterfront sign or something that they may not have in stock, they may have to end up going out and ordering it. So that's why it's really important to give it at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, depending on the property. And then if you want to get in a print advertisement, that's another thing where you might need as much as a month lead time if you're going for a magazine. I don't recommend these things often. I don't actually much like print. I'm more into the online and digital marketing where we can load it up right away. But if you are going into print, you do have to make sure you have that lead time. After that, in the timeline, it's time to have the house on the market and it's time to show the home. Timeline-wise on the showing the home, this is something where you can expect from day one going on the market all the way out. No matter how long you're on for, you should always be ready for a showing. And when you're getting ready for a showing, you basically, from the point you put the house on the market on, you should have it ready for showings at all times. I know this is more difficult if you have children living in the home or if you have a home business or some other things where the house is commonly messy. But realize that if you don't have your home ready to show, then sometimes you'll get an appointment call and you won't be able to take it. And there's nothing worse than turning down an active buyer. Turning down an active buyer can lead to missing a sale. So showing the home on the timeline from day one all the way through the point where you accept an offer. So that brings us to the next step. Accepting an offer in the timeline, this typically happens anywhere between 1 and 30 days out. After 30 days out, if you haven't negotiated and accepted an offer, it's time where you might have to think about a price change. So sometimes they'll say as much as 45 to 60 days, depending. New construction, we usually wait a little bit longer, 45 to 60, before we make a price break. But typically you'll be negotiating and accepting an offer within the first 30 to 60 days. After that, completing a home inspection. From the point where you get the offer to the point where you complete the home inspection is typically done within the first 10 days. When they get the offer in, they usually give themselves a 10-day window, and then they give themselves a 12-day window to sign the purchase and sale agreement. These two are going to be running at the same exact time. A draft of the P&S is going to be going on while you're in the home inspection process. It doesn't mean that you're signing the P&S during the home inspection process because it comes after, but the attorneys, the agents and everything, like making sure that the details match on the PNS. And then if anything comes up in the inspection, all they need to do is insert that into the PNS. So again, you have 10 days for the home inspection, 12 days for the PNS. Times can become very tight during this. So timeline-wise, when you get an accepted offer, you want to make sure that that buyer schedules an inspection right away. As a seller, it's important for your agent to reach out to them and say, let's get this inspection scheduled right away, because the last thing you want to be doing on the last day, last hour is negotiating an inspection, because that means you wasted 10 days that you could have been back on the market if the people decide that the inspection doesn't go the way that they see fit. And again, same reason why the PNS should be being drafted during the process is so that you don't need to extend the PNS date out, because typically between the PNS and the closing date, the mortgage company needs anywhere between 20 and 30 days. So with those 20 to 30 days they need, if you bump the PNS out by 2 days, you may be bumping the closing out by 2 days if they're trying to work off of bare minimum numbers. So you got to remember the whole entire time from when you accept an offer through, it needs to be an active workplace. It can't be, well, I'm gone this weekend, I'm not going to have it. The great news is we no longer need to actually physically be anywhere. Through things like Dotloop or DocuSign or all the other online document signing programs, we don't physically have to meet with you anymore. We can send you things through your phone, through your laptop, anywhere that you have wireless service or you have Wi-Fi, you'll be able to take on the ability to sign anything. So make sure the entire time you're actively answering and replying to your agent, especially as a seller. The last thing you want to do as a seller is let something slip and have that buyer walk away and be back on the market. Last but not least in the timeline, it's time to move. The time to move is hard to put a timeline on because some people actually move out before they even put the home on the market. That way the home is ready for showings every day and it's only staged. Other people move out right before the home closes, maybe a day or two before, and they close on their other house so that they have the two houses at once. Having the two houses at once is the most convenient way, but sometimes it's not financially practical. Other people sell the home, buy a home, same day, while their stuff is in a trailer, and they move from one place to the next. Well, I can't suggest one or the other depending on your situation. It has to be one or the other. I would highly suggest, if at all possible, own the other place before you sell your place and take your time moving. It makes everything a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and a lot more enjoyable. Well, I hope this helps you in planning your next home sale, and if you need help or advice on how to get your home ready to sell, please feel free to reach out to us here at Movementum Realty. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email us, call us, text message us, or reach out to us on Facebook. Remember to follow the podcast, and we look forward to talking to you next week.